it's a true testament of what the Bolivarian Revolution and the socialist revolutions in Cuba and Nicaragua, the Sandinista revolution, has actually achieved for women, to educate them and to place them at equal rights in a way that is not possible under capitalism. So let me invite to the podium the Ambassador of Nicaragua. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Nina. Thank you to the organizers. From the Sandinista, socialist, anti-imperialist Nicaragua, I bring the greetings of Sandino's children from the Sandinista National Liberation Front, from President Daniel Ortega and Vice President Rosario Murillo. Thank you for inviting me to share with you this rally against war, this rally for peace, this platform against imperialism. Thank you for allowing me, on behalf of Nicaragua, which remember him as our own, to pay tribute to Hugo Chavez Frias, whose voice continues to be the moral support of our America, the leader of the new times of Latin American unity, CELAC and Bolivarian Alliance of a fair solidarity global model. The dangerous time we live are exposing the injustice of the global economic order and failures of the capitalism system. But it's also a turning point towards building, creating structures and policies to protect those who are marginalized and allow everyone to live with dignity, as it is the case in Venezuela, Cuba, and Nicaragua, and progressive governments in Latin American and Caribbean region. We are showing that there is a people's alternative to the rules of neoliberalism and global injustice. Since winning the 2006 election and resuming the revolutionary path after 16 years of neoliberal government rules, the Sandinistas under President Ortega has brought huge positive economic and social changes, such as reducing general poverty by half, becoming the 7th most gender equal country in the world, number first in the Americas continent, producing 80% of our energy from renewables, being the safest country in Central America, free education and health for all. Imperialist wars are taking place everywhere, but as President Ortega once said, and recently Lula too, the only war in our countries is against poverty, a fight imposed on us by imperialism that has used it to dominate us and divide us. We fight against poverty, which is a crime against humanity, while we fight unconventional methods of hybrid wars plotted by the colonialists and imperialists of the earth. And we make our way, step by step, without compromising our independence and sovereignty, nor the principles of justice and honor in the international arena. We confront the pretensions of the imperialists defending our dignity and sovereignty at all costs, with our own model of development based on socialism and solidarity, forged by the Sandinista government with workers and workers' movement, collectives and cooperatives on the front foot. Imperialists have and is proliferating wars in the name of human rights, democracy, security, but instead they create death, overexploitation, slavery, punishing defiant countries who dare to stand up for its independence, such as Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua, and many others around the world, imposing illegal unilateral sanctions and blockades just because we are fulfilling the human rights to life and development, to peace and prosperity. Nicaragua has advocated on several occasions at UN for a necessary and mandatory transformation, a true refounding of the entire United Nations system and its body under the principle of multipolarity or pluripolarity, as Hugo Chavez called it once. We must oppose the US-sponsored imperialism era of crime against humanity and build an ambitious, multilateral, plurilateral international governance. But there is hope. In Latin America, we are winning recent anti-imperialist battles by electoral means, voting and deciding their future, fighting to end the evils of capitalism. And Nicaragua, as well as the revolutions in Cuba and Venezuela, will continue to be a firm source of hope for socialist liberation and progressive movements, a voice for the self-determination of the people who demand to be protagonists of their own destiny. Therefore, your stance against the imperial instruments of war has an ideological relevance for a better and more human society. We need to continue together fighting for the right of our people to live in peace, to prosper in peace, to face a future in peace, to confront the authoritarian imperialist neocolonialist model that has historically undermined the sovereignty and dignity of the people of the world, of small independent nations gestating and articulating old and new schemes of destabilization, interference, threats, subjugations, and aggressions. Then Sandino crossed the forest, unleashing his sacred gunpowder against the bandit Marines. Sandino was the knight that fell. Sandino was a turret with banners. Sandino was a rifle fighting hope. There, the captain of the people was waiting. His name was Augusto C. Sandino, and his name will remain in this song, stupendous as a flame, bestowing us the light and the fire to continue his battle. These are extracts of Pablo Neruda, Canción de Gesta. But anti-imperialist Sandino was not alone. He defeated the US Marines with the flame of Bolivar's sword and Martí's idea. The pictures of Marines lining up 2 by 2 leaving Nicaragua, defeated by anti-imperialist Sandino, with boots worn by the dust of the Segovia's mountains, as they ascend the catwalk that will ship them back to the US, remind us that defeating the United States imperialism is possible. Many years later, was up to Cubans, to Vietnam, to China, to Venezuela, and many other countries to resume with another imperialist victories, the banner of Patria and Libertad. And the battle was continued with Fidel, with Chavez, and the light and the fire became stronger. In the heart of the Nicaraguan people, the Cuban people, I'm almost there. The Venezuelan, the Latin American Caribbean people rising, resisting, and conquering the right to live in peace, to create new times. The anti-imperialist heart of Sandino guided Nicaragua in the victory of 1979, the 10 years of the revolution, the 16 years of opposition and resistance to liberal governments, and the 16 years of Sandinista government materializing the projects and dreams of those that gave everything they had to be the model of society of common good. Nicaragua is free, sovereign, and anti-imperialist, and there is no force that can reverse this destiny. The Nicaragua Sandinista is with you in the trench of the battle of ideas, in the struggle for humanity. Let's say to Chavez, we are not few. We are not few. Here we are. We have not given up. We have not sold ourselves. Here we are, saying no to imperialism, saying no to fascism, saying no to intervention, and saying no to death and yes to life and freedom. Because another war is possible if we are united. Let's stand up together against imperialism, for our dreams, our future, for peace, for people and the planet. Viva Sandino, viva Fidel, viva Chávez. Venceremos.
A message of hope and of strength for us here. They do everything to make us forget that socialism exists and is alive and its beating heart is in Latin America. And to hear this message from Nicaragua and have the portrait of Chavez projected at the back reminds us all and gives us the strength that these great revolutionary spirits of their time had. Fidel, Raúl Castro, Evo Morales, Daniel Ortega, and other Latin American revolutionaries that we need to remember. And many of Chavez's followers consider that he followed in the footsteps of the great revolutionary hero, Che Guevara. So this is now time to listen to the ambassador of Cuba.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Okay.
Just,
Okay.
Good.
Good. Hello. First of all, I would like to thank to the organizers for the opportunity to share with all of you this an important event, because it is an important event. And I would like to express on behalf of the Communist Party of Cuba best greetings to all of you this afternoon. And also on behalf of the people who have never renounced to continue to fight for our right to be independent for any imperialism around the world. We live in a complex international scenario in which forces with fascist and extreme right-wing positions are trying to contain the advance of progressive forces through aggressive manipulation, lawfare, and the use of media and technological digital tools. Never before has humanity had such a great scientific and technical potential, nor such an extraordinary capacity to generate wealth and well-being. However, never before has the world been so unequal and inequally so profound. Countries where inequality has increased are home to more than 2/3 of the world population. The richest 10% of the world's population own 76% of total wealth. During the COVID-19 pandemic, nearly 7 million people have died globally, and only around 30% of people have been vaccinated with at least one dose in low-income countries. Case fatality rate is 1.06% for the world and 1.59% for Latin America. Cuba's fatality rate is 1.07%. Is Cuban blockaded? Meanwhile, billionaires worldwide have added $1.9 trillion and $1.6 trillion to their net wealthy in 2020 and 2021, respectively. Cuba developed and produced our own vaccine and has ensured the protection of over 90% of our population, free of charge for all population. Communicable. What I'm trying to say to you is try to contextualize the fight of the Cuban people in this global scenario that today all of you and my colleagues has in many ways described. Communicable disease will account for almost half of all deaths in low-income countries. 10% of the world's population suffer from hunger. Nearly 50 million children suffer from stunting, which is the worst form of malnutrition. None of them are Cubans. The fourth industrial revolution is on the way, while 773 million human beings cannot read or write. Most of them women. Cuba is a territory free of illiteracy since 1961. Regional and international conflicts have been exacerbated, and the problems and challenges already facing humanity have become more acute. The global crisis affects all of us, but the poorest country, the lowest income households, those who have the least suffer the most. In our region, important political change has taken place, but the tendency to destabilize legitimate governments whose approaches and objectives are not in line with imperial wishes persists. That's why Venezuela or Nicaragua or Cuba continue our fight. It is good to remember today, it's very important to remember today, that night in Havana, on 13 December 1994, when Fidel Castro and Hugo Chavez met for the first time. From that meeting, a new historic stage in the history of our America was born. They are no longer physically present, but their ideas and their example will always be with us. For Cuba, it has been more than 60 years of blockade. The economic blockade continues to be the central and defining factor of the bilateral relations between the United States and our country. The blockade impacts every aspect of the Cuban peoples, and that is precisely the point. It is a deliberate act of economic warfare seeking to shut down the revenue streams, destroy the government ability to attend to the needs of the people, bring about the collapse of the economy, and create a situation of non-governability. During the first 14 months of President Biden's administration, the damage were estimated are over $15 million per day. In the 7 months between August 2021 and February 2022, loss amounted to a record figure of $3.8 billion. The cumulative damage has been estimated at more than $154,000 billion at current prices. The US government allocates significant human and financial resources, working hours in the Treasury Department fully dedicated to enforcing the economic blockade against us. Large number of the US diplomats around the world are instructed to track down each and every one of Cuba's commercial and financial transactions. The Biden administration, of all those that the Cuban Revolution has known, is the one that has most aggressively and effectively applied the blockade. It is the one that punishes the most, the one that causes the most damage to the daily life of Cubans. In practice, it is applying the policy of maximum economic pressure that was designated by Donald Trump. Last Tuesday, Biden administration released the country report on terrorism and continues Cuba's designation as a state sponsor of terrorism. The real purpose of standing in Cuba as a terrorist is to justify the illegal US blockade, to criminalize normalizing relations with Cuba, exacerbating the already devastating impacts of sanctions. Even with the missing information in this report, which supposedly belongs to 2021, its publication is shameful. Neither then or now is there a single reason for the USA to include Cuba among countries that sponsor or do not cooperate in the fight against terrorism. Remember that we are suffering a lot because of the act of terrorism from the United States against Cuba. Even terrorism of the state. The blockade's failed policy, but it provokes a lot of suffering. Nothing has ever been easy for the Cuban Revolution, but Cuba has withstood everything: military aggression, the blockade, the blows of nature. The struggle for the lifting up of the immoral and genocidal blockade continues, and we will resist. We have paid a very high price in defense of our sovereignty and our principles. We never will not renounce. We continue to support the Bolivarian Revolution. We continue to support the people of Nicaragua and the process in Nicaragua under the leadership of the President Daniel Ortega. No matter how cost, we never sell our soul for a piece of bread. Never. Cuba is committed to peace, to achieving a more just and equitable world for all. We will continue to raise our voice to reject domination and hegemonies, unilateral coercive measures, genocidal blockades, and the attempt to impose a unique culture and model on the world. We will never renounce the defense of the independence, sovereignty, and self-determination of the people without foreign interference or intervention. These are difficult times, times to join efforts to establish a just, equitable, and sustainable world orders, time for a unity, to defend peace, to struggle to our rights. It's possible to do it. We must to do it. We have a debt with the future generations, and we need to continue to fight for our right, because nothing will be given to us for free. Thank you.
Wonderful.
To all three of you, ambassadors of the nations that are fighting imperialism, and they fill us with both pride and debt to your sacrifices. Hasta la victoria siempre. Venceremos. We have this role, this responsibility in the platform, the World Anti-imperialist Platform, to counter this toxic imperialist war propaganda. Before I go on, I want to thank from the bottom of our heart the three ambassadors who have been honoring us with their presence and their speeches today, and I would invite everyone to thank them. Thank you for giving us your house. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. I will invite the Italian Communist Party first, and then it will be you, Carlos. Yes? Okay. Okay? Yes. Thank you very much. So as well.